Hello, I'm Tory Schendel, the Virginia G. Schroeder Curator of Art at the Evansville Museum. And while I'm hanging out in beautiful Indiana, we have a fabulous artist with us today who is in Paris, Gary Zuercher, the photographer for our current exhibition, The Glow of Paris, The Bridges of Paris. Gary, I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Thank you. It's good to see you again.
Likewise, and how are things across the pond?
Well, we just got through with a torrential rainstorm.
Woo!
But it's, the weather's nice. It's not bad now that the rainstorm is over.
And I'm sure the contrast is beautiful, at least for picture taking. And with that in mind, Gary, with your photos on display at the Evansville Museum, can you tell us what was your original objective behind the purpose of why you started this photography project?
I don't think I really had a particular objective in mind when I started. I didn't know where it was going to go. I liken it to what they say when they ask mountain climbers, why did you climb the mountain? And their answer is, because it was there. So, I guess my objective when I first started the project was just to shoot all of the bridges at night and see what I came up with. And then things just evolved from there over a period of time.
So if there was no objective, what was your artistic muse for going about this project?
Well, the artistic view was they're beautiful at night.
Yeah.
And in fact, what I really wanted to do was photograph them and look at them myself and just appreciate them. But then the more I saw of them, the more photographs I developed, the more beauty I saw, the more I wanted to share it. And so that was where the artistic aspect of the whole thing went.
Oh, we do appreciate that you shared it with us, because boys, it's a beautiful exhibition. And with that beauty in mind, what was the inspiration to start this? How long have you been doing photography? Like, what really brought you to this point to make this beautiful portfolio of Parisian bridges?
Well, it goes way back.
Yep.
I say way back. I mean, really way back to the point where two things took place. One was I was in Boy Scouts and decided to do a merit badge in photography. And so in doing that, I set up what was a very rudimentary dark room in my parents' basement and took an old Brownie Kodak Kodaflex out and took a few black and white pictures and then tried to develop them in the basement. But what really grabbed me was putting a piece of blank paper into a little pan of liquid chemical and watching that white paper begin to turn into a black and white photograph. And I'm sure you've done that yourself before, but I mean, it's just the first time it ever happens, it just kind of takes your breath away. And having experienced that, I decided I'd like to continue messing around with it. So over the many years that followed, I did a lot of photography for commercial purposes, for companies, for advertising agencies. And I actually produced 12 different films, commercial films for business, but never really did much in the way of creative photography. But as I mentioned to you one time earlier, some of the commercial photography took a lot of creativity to be able to convey the concept of the beauty of the product that we're working with. And then I started to do some creative photography, and it ginned its way into this project of shooting the bridges at night. So that's a long answer to a short question.
I think that's an important answer to a question that really started out, your love and your infatuation. And boy, you're absolutely right, because when you have this blank sheet of paper, you put it underneath the so you're gonna have to help me here. It's been a while since I've Thank you,
Yeah.
35 millimeter. You turn on your light and you put it through your wash, your different baths, but you're absolutely right. Because when that image starts to come on that white piece of paper and you have this beautiful, rich colors, black and white or color film, it is absolutely fantastic. You're absolutely right. It takes your breath away, especially the first time you see it. You're like, whoa.
I mean, that was well said. That's exactly what it is. Whoa.
Yes. I don't understand the science. I don't have to, but boy, that's beautiful. And that touched me in the soul.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. So Gary, when did you actually photograph your 35 bridge collection?
When?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it started in 2008. Well, actually, the last month of 2007, and it continued for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last bridge photograph that I took that's part of the project, the collection, was in 2014. It may have been just the beginning of 15, but it took quite a long time. I only lived in Paris half the time, so half the time I wasn't there to photograph.
Mm-hmm.
The half the time that I lived here, part was in the summer, part was in the winter. And I only did the shooting, or I did 90% of the shooting in the winter.
Ooh,
The reason for that is the bridges have a beautiful luminous light on them from the lighting that surrounds them. And they turn off the lights in the summer. Well, it doesn't get dark until about 11:30 at night in Paris during the summer. And they turn the lights off at midnight. So there's not much shooting time in the summer. So most all of the photography was in the winter. So between 2008 and 2014, and then there was another year spent doing the research on the history of the bridges in order to be able to create a book of the photos with something that gives more than just the photos, it gives the history of the bridges.
That makes sense. So out of curiosity, with you living between DC and Paris, and you were creating this project, did you do different concept development? Like, for example, did you get your negatives in one area versus another? Did you print in a different area? So for example, did you,
Yes. Right from the beginning, I rented what's called a chambre de bonne, which is it's a servant's bedroom in an old building where the servants used to live on the top floor and come down the back stairway into the apartments of the richer people and create and make their dinners for them or clean their apartment or whatever. Anyhow, I created a dark room in one of those places, and I would shoot during the night and develop the film in that dark room the next morning. And then most of the time during the afternoons, I would go out and scout where I was going to shoot next. And actually I would take a digital camera and take digital black and whites just to get an idea of the different POVs, point of view that I wanted to use during the night. Now that took a lot of time. So I didn't have time to print those negatives in Paris. So that was done in the dark room that I have in the US. I would print them there, take them through their bath, mount them, and do all of the finish work in the US. So that's kind of an answer to how it was divided out.
So out of curiosity, while you were doing this, was there a particular bridge that really stood out to you? Was the Lover's Bridge one that struck your fancy? And I see that there's a bridge behind you too, a bridge photo. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, that photo behind me is a photo of some of the artwork that is on the Pont Alexandre III, the bridge of Alexander III, which has it has 27 named works of art that are part of the bridge. It is a beautiful bridge, but there's two others that I really particularly liked. One was the Passerelle Simone de Beauvoir, which is a passerelle is a footbridge, and it's the newest bridge, and it was built in 2007, and it was the first bridge in 2,000 some years of Paris bridge history. It is the first and only bridge named for a woman, Simone de Beauvoir. And it's an undulating bridge. It looks more like a roller coaster. It was built in Germany and brought up through the Rhine River to the North Sea, down and up to the Seine, and installed over the Seine in Paris in one night, because it was completely built, but it was too big to come by road. The other one is the Passerelle Pont des Arts, which is Pont des Arts, which is the first metal bridge that was built in France. It was built during the reign of Napoleon Bonaparte, and it's like some people call it the most romantic spot in Paris. And on a summer night, you can see people with music and wine and lovers just having a nice time on the bridge. I think Benjamin Franklin said, "You haven't seen Paris until you've seen the Passerelle Pont des Arts." And maybe it is the most beautiful bridge in Paris. But those are the three bridges: the Pont Alexandre III, Passerelle Simone de Beauvoir, and Passerelle Pont des Arts.
That's beautiful. And so, can you tell me about the bridge which nearly collapsed due to the many lovers who put padlocks on one of the bridges?
Those are called cadenas d'amour, locks of love. And that's one of the three bridges that I just mentioned. It's the Passerelle Pont des Arts. What would happen is lovers would write their name onto a lock, go onto the bridge, lock the lock onto the chain link fence, which was part of the bridge, and throw the key into the Seine as a symbol of their undying love. But the Parisians tell the story about the Don Juans who used combination locks and erasable ink.
I like their way.
But the locks became a terrible problem because of the weight, and in fact, they were ugly. It was vandalism, so to speak. I didn't like it. I thought it was terrible. At one point, a part of the bridge actually fell into the Seine from the weight. But at one point, I think there was something like about 60,000 locks on the bridge.
Wow.
And the total weight was something like 80,000 pounds. That's the equivalent of 4 semi trucks loaded to the gross weight of 20,000 pounds on the bridge before anyone goes onto it. And so, it was a structural problem. It ended up in that piece of bridge that fell in, but that has been solved now because they've removed all of the locks. And instead of the chain link fence going down each side of the bridge, they now have clear glass panels, so that there's nothing to attach to. And actually, the glass panels are nice because it even gives you a clearer view in front of you. It's more breathtaking. So that's the story of the Cadenas d'amour.
So PSA announcement, don't put any locks on bridges. So from the down under to above, would you mind telling me the story of what you went through to capture the overhead shot of the 6 bridges?
That's the shot that is the cover shot of the book.
You have the book
there. Yeah, that's it. That's the shot. Yeah.
There's the moneymaker shot.
Yeah, I really like that shot. It was hard to get from the standpoint that getting up onto some building, take that shot. It's not just something that you walk in and say, I want to go to the top of your building to take a shot at night. So I hired a location scout. Movie people, if they want a particular location during their movie, they hire a location scout who has experience, and they go out and they get approvals and they get the access and so forth. So I hired a location scout because where I wanted to shoot from was the top of the tower of the Église Saint-Gervais. That's the Church of Saint-Gervais. And so my scout went in and talked to the head, the Mother Superior, to get approval. And the Mother Superior said, no.
Oh, no.
She said, the nuns sleep in the tower. No man goes through the bedroom of the nuns at night. So that was out. And my scout said to me, would you like to shoot from the top of the city hall, which is just in front of the Church of Saint-Gervais? I said, yeah, sure, but how do we go about that? She said, leave it to me. So within about 4 hours, she called back. She had a document for me to sign, which is an agreement with the mayor's office of Paris, allowing me to go up to the top of Tower Z of the Hotel de Ville. Hotel de Ville means City Hall. So that was only part of it. The next part was getting up, because there's no steps that take you up there. You can go halfway up inside the building on the steps. Then you come out and you get on the roof, and you have double hook harnesses to climb up to the top of the tower. And the double hook harness means that you are never unhooked. You know, you're moving from one location to the other. And when you move, you unhook one hook and rehook it before you unhook the second hook. So if you fall, you at least got one hook holding you. So anyhow, it's the sapeur-pompier, the fireman, who at that time had responsibility for the safety and security at the Hotel de Ville. And they were just great. I mean, they helped carry all the equipment up. They helped get us up on the roof. And they stayed with us while I was shooting. 3 hours in the evening. And then we came down. I didn't tell them until I was done shooting and we were back down that I'd had a hip replacement. Not too long before that. Or they wouldn't have let me go.
Yeah. Oh, geez. So Gary, the daredevil, do whatever it takes through the art. I love it. So this is definitely new information for an American audience. Was this type of information, aside from your daredevil experience, but was this exhibition, this research, and this project new to Parisians?
In total, yes. I mean, the totality of what was presented in your exhibition at the Evansville Museum of Arts, History, and Science is new to 99% of Parisians, because they never have thought about all of the bridges at night with all of the information that's contained in the book. A lot of people do know some about some of the bridges, but I've got a lot of friends here who say, I'm still learning from your book about the bridges. So yes, it is new information even for the people here. They use the bridges, they drive by the bridges, they see the bridges, but they don't really, they look at the bridges, but they don't really see them until they concentrate on them. And at night, they're much more different than they are in the daytime.
No, that makes sense, because when you do, at least in my generalized opinion, we think of bridges, you think of something ubiquitous. You might think of the Romans, you might think of some of the early civilizations and the first created bridges, because since I did spend a lot of time in Italy. But even when I was in Paris, it was just more, ooh, the Eiffel Tower, oh, the Louvre, oh, these big landmarks that I can't say that. I mean, I enjoyed the Pont Alexander for sure, but you've definitely taught me how to appreciate these bridges in a whole new light. And I too have learned a lot of new history about these bridges. So it's interesting that you shed light on something that we take for granted or as ubiquitous. They're beautiful works of art. And that's one thing I really appreciate about your exhibition. and the photography that you've done. So I can
They
definitely
are
understand where
works
they're
of
coming
art.
from. Absolutely. And then when you see them all in one cohesive exhibition, it just really does take your breath away. Like the first developed black and white print.
Exactly.
Now, with that in mind, Gary, can you take me through the type of equipment you need for this? What kind of cameras do you use? And then can you walk us through your printing techniques?
The equipment I used were medium format cameras, which give you, you're familiar with your 35 millimeter
Mhm,
camera that you used to use.
mhm,
The medium format give you a negative that's about 4 times larger than a 35 millimeter negative. And as a result of that, you get much more keen detail in a larger negative. So I would use 2 cameras. Both of them were Mamiyas made in
mhm.
Japan.
Hmm.
One was a Mamiya 645 and the other was a 711 viewfinder. The
Mhm,
645 was a single lens reflex, meaning when you're looking through the viewfinder, you're actually looking through the lens. So what you take is what you see is what you get in the print, in the
mhm,
negative. The
mhm,
viewfinder it's just exactly that. It's got a viewfinder on top, but the lens is down here, and so you're not totally coordinated eye and lens like you are
mhm.
with an SLR. The problem with the viewfinder is they both have lens caps to protect the lens.
Uh-huh.
With a single lens reflex SLR, you're looking through there. If the lens cap is on, it's black. You can't see anything.
Mhm, mhm,
With the viewfinder, you look through there and you can see whether the lens cap is on or not. So
mhm.
one night I shot 3 rolls of film. I shot 3 rolls of film, and I forgot to take the lens cap off. So I had 3 rolls of blank film.
Sad.
But in shooting, first of all, the most important thing is that you're comfortable when you go out. It's winter. You really have to be dressed for it. So I use the things like the toe warmers, the hand warmers that you use for skiing. I dressed heavily.
Mhm,
Um, I had a black baseball hat, and the
mhm,
reason I have that is because all the shots are taken on tripod because they're long exposures,
mhm,
and some of the exposures are some exposures are more than 6 or 7 minutes that the lens is open taking the
mhm.
photo. And what happens is you've got the river and you've got these stupid tourist boats that come right through the scene when you're taking a photo.
Yeah.
So the reason I had that black hat is, if I knew I was going to do a 7-minute photo, I had a stopwatch and I'd start it.
Mhm.
And if a boat came through, I'd take the hat off and cover the lens and stop the stopwatch. So
Right.
7 minutes, maybe 3 minutes has elapsed. I wait 5 minutes as the boat goes through, take the hat off and start the stopwatch again, so
Wow.
that it's not interrupted by the boat.
Hmm.
Um, so there's that. I guess what else can I tell you about? As I had mentioned earlier, sometimes I would use a digital camera during the
Mhm,
day to determine what kind of POV, what kind of point of view I would
mhm,
want to use.
mhm,
Um, but there's things like um, I had a tablet with me and I'd record all of my lens opening times, the type of film I was using,
mhm.
the location, um, all of that information, which I also transposed into a document for printing as to how I printed each and every photo, so that I
Perfect.
could go back and tell you with every photo, I can go back and tell you when it was taken, how it was
Mhm,
taken, how it was
mhm,
developed, how it was printed, and on what paper, and
mhm.
how much time of exposure for
Wow.
the photo, and how much time of exposure under the enlarger. So I guess that should tell you a little bit about how I did that.
Precise, precision, and well documented. Everything that makes a curator happy. And so your images are silver gelatin prints. And can you walk us through what is a silver gelatin print?
Well, silver gelatin, we're looking at basically 2 types of prints: a silver gelatin print or um, or an inkjet print. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what is done with a lot of digital photography today is inkjet prints, which are pretty good quality.
Mhm.
The silver gelatin is made on a piece of white paper that is chemically treated um, with a Baryta, Baryta type of a treatment, and that paper reacts to certain chemicals.
Mhm.
So you take the negative, you put it in the enlarger, and you project the negative down onto the silver gelatin paper and expose the paper to the negative for a certain period of time. And you do that 5 or 6 times to determine what is the right amount of time of exposure onto that paper for that particular negative. And
Mhm.
then you can enhance some areas of the photograph and the negative by dodging and burning. Dodging means you restrict the light. Burning means you give more light to a particular area. So you give more light, you get more contrast, more density, and it's
Mhm.
lighter when you restrict. You take that piece of paper that's chemically treated and you put it into a developing bath. It's a pot of chemical that you've prepared, and you put
Mhm.
it in that chemical for around 2.5, 3 minutes, and it emerges into a black and white photograph.
Mhm.
But then as it's developing, what you want to do when you develop a photo is stop the development. So you
Mhm.
put it into a second bath, which is a stop bath, and it stops the development. The development stopped there. But now you want to fix that where it is. You don't want it to go any further one way or the other. So you put it into a fixing bath and you leave it there. The total of the baths is probably 12, 13 minutes
Mhm.
in total between the three of them. Then the paper is rinsed for up to a half an hour to clear it of all the chemicals that have been used in the development process. And then there's various other things you can do to it also.
Mhm.
Whereas with an inkjet print, you simply take the digital file and print it with a printer.
Mhm.
And so it's a lot easier and it's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't do what I did anymore. But
Mhm.
it's interesting because with the onset of the digital um, photographic, I'll call it a revolution,
Mhm.
uh, it has also created more people interested in the traditional black and white processes and the traditional black and white methods. And
Mhm.
so there's been a lot of people who have taken courses, classes to learn how to do that
Mhm.
as a result of the increased interest in photography.
Mhm. And so, with this reflecting on tradition, out of curiosity, are there any other photographers that you like to read about, research? Is there any particular artist that inspired you or that you like to read about heavily?
Well, of course, Ansel Adams.
Mhm.
He wrote quite a bit. He's got
Mhm.
a book called The Print. He's got a book called The Negative. And there is an amazing amount to learn from
Mhm.
reading Ansel Adams, just an amazing amount. So I read all of his books, and I spent some time studying with John Sexton. John Sexton was the technical advisor for Ansel Adams. He's much younger than Ansel Adams is, and he's still alive. And he's still doing a lot of black and white work. And I spent time and learned some important things from John. And then there's others who have writings and are good to follow. And then it's always nice to see the photographs of others. Like they've got an exhibition here at the Musée Carnavalet, which is the museum of the city of Paris. They have an exhibition of Henri Cartier-Bresson ongoing, which is it's the stuff that he took in the early to mid 20th century,
Mhm.
and it's really a nice exhibition. Good work. Good work to see. Yeah.
And so, with exhibitions in mind, Gary, what's next for you?
Well, I'm not sure. I started before the COVID onset. I started shooting some of the great bridges of Europe that
Mm.
night. I shot in Barcelona and Seville. There's a bridge designer that is Spanish that has created some of the really striking modern bridges. His name is Santiago Calatrava, and he's really quite a designer. So I've shot some of his bridges. Now the challenge is, as we emerge from the COVID mess,
Mhm.
to the challenge is for me to take that up again and go
Mhm.
on. There's great bridges in Amsterdam. There's great bridges. There's great bridges all over
Mhm.
Europe.
Mhm.
I did did a little bit of photography in Prague and shot the the Karlovy Bridge, which is beautiful, and it's got
Mhm.
the castle in the background of the Prague. I forget what the name of the ruling class was at that period of time, but it's a beautiful scene, and it makes a nice photograph. Actually, you could see that photograph on my Facebook page.
I will definitely be looking for it. Do you think that you're going to take this Bridges of Paris exhibition and circulate it through Europe?
That's a good question, because I'd like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The question is what venue,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the question of cost,
Mm-hmm.
and transporting the exhibition there, the cost of installation and so forth. So there'd have to be some way of ameliorating the cost of doing it. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, I would like to do that. There's a few museums I think that would be perfect for it. Time will tell. We'll have to
That's
wait and
right.
see.
So with that clutter in mind, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today, Gary?
Well, I not that I can think of. I think you probably wrung me dry.
Well, Gary, with that note, then I really appreciate you taking some time to speak with us today, and especially taking time out of Paris to speak with us. So thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the city of love, and we hope to see you soon stateside.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Bye for now.